How's it going, Mike?
Good, man. What's going on?
So in the NFL and the NBA, the coaches are usually the public face of the franchise, and you get them rather than the GM. So forgive me for asking you a question. It's probably better suited for Chris, but since you're the only one here, so when it became clear after a couple weeks that you all could not that you all could not stop the run and didn't have enough from a defensive line standpoint, why did the organization decide not to try, correct me if I'm wrong, try not to get upgrades on the defensive line, whether it was via trade like the Chargers did for an edge rusher last week, whether it was bringing in Wilkins to see how his foot is? Why did you not try something before you got this below 500 to try to address that need? I was confused about that.
Because frankly, you're first and foremost, if your first viewing or your first quarter of the season or your first game, or if we took the results of that game and mandated that was an absolute, that the players that did whatever they did that day, that's who they are forever. That we'd probably miss out on a lot of major players in this league as you grow as a young player. So what you're doing is you're taking a snapshot of what that was, conceivably what can you coach and improve with the player. Is there things that they are unable to do through coaching? And then you match that versus what's available to you. So when you don't, just because you're not active doesn't mean by any stretch that you're complacent. The easiest answer is grass is greener, but you have to really focus on all right. Well, what are they able to do? What are they doing? How can we adjust? And with the thought of their best stuff is better than what we extrapolate is available, and so it's our job to try to get them to do their best stuff, and it improves. Like I told you, the run defense wasn't exclusively at one position, and specifically with it's the bigger gains that have really ate up the clock, gotten first downs, and that has to do with all three levels. When those occur, we had less, which is less than we did the week before, and that was absolute the sole focus. I saw the real growth in the unit on the most clips that I've seen thus far this year. So you're making sure that there's that the really performance improves, whether that's the same nameplate or someone different.
How fair is it to say that the on and off field absence of Calais Campbell has been significant?
How fair? Yeah, he's a very good player that provides a lot of things, and there's each team is unique to their own. I have a lot of positive things to say about him, but to just say that things are this or that. However, he's a good player, and I'd like to have him on our team.
As players have come back for the week of practice, do you still see Tua's comments as an internal topic, or did he address it with teammates and everyone's kind of set it behind them now?
Yeah, that's the first, last, and only thing, if I have anything to say about it, and I did in several meetings today, is the Cleveland Browns and our focus within that regard. Absolutely, he communicated with his teammates both in group and individually, and there's much bigger fish to fry, in our team's opinion, in my opinion.
So that was earlier today, or
There was Monday, and I know he's talked to some of the guys that he didn't catch, on Monday today. But I think we have plenty to occupy our minds with our football play versus what will be a motivated Cleveland Browns team on the road.
Is left guard an open competition, or do you want to continue to invest in Jonah as a starter because you see the talent there?
Well, I think Jonah had I'm sure you guys noticed the play that he would want back. Outside of that, I think he had probably his best technique game. He's again, it's very fluid, and the NFL and teams are made up of a coach-player relationship that there needs to be a purpose for the coach to exist, and that's to improve the player. And players, by nature of the experience or the relationship with the coach, are challenged to improve, and that process needs to occur, or you evaluate other options. That's just the nature of all of it. So it is of primary importance that our best coaching is done through improvement of failure, and that the idea isn't black and white where you high five, result good, no eye contact, result bad type stuff. Like this is where we're working together to achieve the best result, and that takes investment and mutual ownership.
Mike, you've got a 29-28 regular season record as Dolphins coach. I'm wondering how you view the Mike McDaniel era of Dolphins football to this point.
Whoa, I'm not in the mindset of reviewing eras. I don't think my job title lends anybody to benefit by me sitting back and reflecting upon. I have problems to solve. My job is a problem solver, quite literally, and bringing there's new issues to address and attack, and I'm very much focused on you don't control necessarily the circumstance or situation entirely on your own ever in life. I'm trying to be the very best head coach for this team, who needs their coach to be focused on the stuff that they actually can contribute of value to them, which is preparation, conviction, detail on their craft, and ability to communicate how all individual pieces connect to one. And that's so I don't mean to not have something good to say. Quite literally, I would just be talking. I'm focused on trying to win a game versus the Browns.
Mike, you know how Jaylen Phillips can be pretty critical of his own play, and he obviously had the play at the end of the game the other day. How do you see him responding from that? What signs?
Well, I think he's hiding in plain sight. I get to see the maturity of a player, live speed, or a player that hasn't always. Sometimes you can be your own worst enemy when you really want to do well, and then something doesn't. Then you don't. You can make your play worse, and that's something that more often than not, players in this league have to figure out how to continually take critiques and adjustments in their game and stay confident and press forward. What I've seen from his response, I would worry about maybe the first year I was with him, potentially not being able to understand that both things can be true. He's absolutely capable and wishes that he made a play at the end of the game, but understanding that games are an accumulation of various situations, that he can't look at it like he lost the game, and then at the same time ignore the fact that his pursuit kept on, I think, the second drive, kept the offensive player to only 3 yards, forced a 2nd and 7, which resulted in a takeaway, which resulted in the next play being a touchdown. So everybody's play is interconnected. You got to continue to get better and be hard on yourself with good reason and productivity. And I think he's understood how capable and how to address stuff moving forward without making himself worse by the delusion of that play being the only play that existed in a game of 159 plays.
Myles Garrett, how do you balance the idea as you go through your game planning and getting ready for what you're going to do on Sunday? How do you balance the idea of letting a Patrick Paul, for instance, just take him one-on-one versus committing a bunch of help to a player that's so dominant in this league?
Well, I think that's part of the challenge of this particular defense and why they're playing so well, because if you overcommit to one player, you leave yourself extremely vulnerable to the other players not focused on, and this group has a plethora of really, really good defensive linemen. So you have to balance it. You have to understand that it's no single person's job when you're talking about one of the best players in the league at any position, and that it may take it may take a receiver adding an extra bump to his pass rush or a chip to help Pat block him, or it may take the appropriate receiver route and quarterback timing to block him and to beat his pass rush by timing. Or it may take a turn, or it may take we may account on one play 3 guys on him, but you do that in a collection of plays over the course of the game, and it's never one person's responsibility. You prioritize him in the game plan and focus on him for sure, while spreading the duty of trying to contain an elite player across a group and not an individual.
Has T-Dot cleared concussion protocol?
I've heard, I don't think officially yet, but I think it's I think I haven't heard anything that would have me be skeptical of whether or not that will occur. So no bad news on that front.
Patrick Paul versus Myles Garrett might be an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
How do you think he's doing, and how do you think he might approach that one?
See if you guys are listening. He's the only person that's going to block Myles Garrett this game. Okay. All right. So you guys are listening. I think as competitors, you want players on your team that look for the competitive challenge of attacking some of the league's best. I think it will be probably the second time that Patrick's blocked him. He was able to play against him last year, and knows all the problems that he can present. So it's a good challenge for Patrick. That again is not his and only his. You spread that over a unit when you're dealing with a player of that magnitude.
Become a high volume player. Well,
going back to last year in terms of receptions.
Mhm.
With Tyreek out, you're utilizing him more with, I don't know if you call them gadget plays, but plays designed for that were designed for Tyreek. What is the pros and cons of that in terms of teams game planning for him and then maybe getting him out the backfield?
So that's a great question because you have to be, for me, to be responsible with that usage, you have to be very proactive and utilizing all of your time with the player. For what do I mean by that? With Devon, it's why the spring and the summer, OTAs and training camp were so important because you can kind of work into the teaching progression some of the things that you may or may not use during the course of the year. One of the things we did this off season was try to take advantage of some of his skill set as a receiver and an actual route runner. And so during the season, it's all good unless he gets worse at his tracks or running the football. That vulnerability, I've had experience of various players that had multi-functions. So you in planning, you get ahead of it and teach them the core principles of that position so that in game plans, you're not trying to start from scratch, which is an opportunity cost that even if you get, let's say you want to teach him a completely unique route, there's a cost in that in terms of you're going to have to spend time and focus and energy on that. That means he better be on top of all of his other responsibilities in his game. So I think that, both, planning from our perspective, but then his commitment to the nuances of the position over the entirety of the offseason allow him to feature various aspects of his skill set that are unique and help us with advantages over opponents.
If I may, have you ever had a player comparable to Devon before?
No, it's similar problem solving, reverse engineered as Debo. Debo's a receiver that you had to, so then you kind of use that format inverse for the receiver. That's the only person I can really think of that we were putting in the backfield and being a receiver. He was just the opposite starting point.
Thank you, appreciate it.